What the hell happened to wrestling?
Outlaws.
I don't go no street, no smacking with a beat goes whacking and the sound I'm checking into a hotel. I'll stroll no more outlaws in town. They ran their clan.
Hello, episode 79, Middle-Aged Outlaws podcast. Adam, how goes it?
I feel like I'm really adding to the middle-aged part of this by having sciatica. But, apart from that, all fantastic.
Sciatica. Is that a TNA Knockouts woman that's competing in a four-way? No?
Maybe this is a little less painful?
That's a good one. Well done. Excellent. Well, they're not excellent at all. In fact, that's terrible to hear, actually. Sciatica sucks. But you have been well medicated, I understand.
Yes. Yeah, that's the important thing. And it means I can, do things like this. And whatever I say is, I can blame the pills.
That's all right. One, nobody's listening. And two, it's not like it'll be kept on the internet forever. So we're good. We're good. Okay, so we're Bound for Glory series. We've got 2011 this week. We've got 2012 next, and then we're done on our journey of Bounds. That'll be fun to get finished.
It's feeling like that now, isn't it? It's just we just have to get to the end.
We do. We're almost there. Before we get started on our pay-per-view for today, I just wanted to ask if you have been keeping abreast. I was going to ask if you've been keeping abreast of Joe Hendry and his quest for UK chart fame, but you probably don't have much choice because I probably send you something daily.
Yeah, it's very entertaining. The thing that got me was the Scotty Too Hotty one, the Bon Jovi song that clicked with me. That was everything I wanted it to be. And then you end up looking at various other bits and pieces. Yeah, he's got his thing and he's running with it, and yeah, it's entertaining.
It's good. Do you know he reached number 6?
No.
His theme song reached number 6 on Sunday in the UK Top 40
Wow.
charts. So yeah, good for him.
Nice.
Go on yourself, local hero, Joe Hendry. I went to Discovery Wrestling show in Portobello a couple of weeks ago now, maybe last week. Joe Hendry was on it. Got a good reception from the people in attendance. He was facing Leon Slater, who don't know if you're aware of Leon Slater, but he's a young lad, 20 or so. He's on TNA's books. He's absolutely brilliant.
Nice.
Absolutely fantastic. I would not be surprised to see him somewhere in the near future. Really, really good.
Nice. Cool.
Should we jump into TNA?
Yeah, let's do this.
Excellent. So, TNA Bound for Glory 2011 is coming to us from Philadelphia. So we're getting some form of ECW bastardization on here. We've got a video package opening up with who else? Mr. Hogan and Joker Sting. Thoughts on Joker Sting?
I think it always felt like it was a little too on the nose. I don't know, didn't really interest me. I preferred Crow Sting and some of the old throwback Stings. Not sure Joker Sting ever really grabbed me.
No. And we also get a bit of bits and pieces to do with the control of TNA. Such a overused trope at this point. We're only in 2011. By this point, control of the company is just overcooked.
We've mentioned a few times how it can be difficult when you dip in and out each year into these things. There were points in time where I was trying to figure out who was aligned with who, what the hell was supposed to be going on, and this whole Sting with Dixie and Hogan is it Hogan with Bischoff, or is it just Hogan doing his thing? Yeah, I wasn't in the slightest bit interested when they were doing all this. I didn't care.
What about Dixie's husband?
What was Dixie's husband doing?
Like, standing by her as the Hogan Sting match. He kind of looks like what I imagine Joe from Family Guy would look like as a real guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
He's just a bit middle America, and he's like hugging her shoes. Oh, we'll get on it. We'll get on it. The theme for this pay-per-view, the theme song that's played throughout, is by Stained. And do you want to know what the title of the song is?
Tell me.
Not Again.
It's so fitting.
We've got Mike TNA on lead commentary with the Human Suplex Machine on colour. Always welcome these two, to be fair.
Yeah.
And we start off with the X Division match, as I think we must have most of these pay-per-views now.
Yeah.
We've got a tried and tested formula. We've got the challenger, Brian Kendrick, the Wizard of Odd, taking on the champion, Austin Aries.
Yeah.
What do you think of our opener?
So I talked about genuine back, medication, pain, all that. When
Are you going to preface every comment with that, so just in case what you said makes absolutely zero sense?
Here, I definitely am, but it was more of I looked at what Brian Kendrick was here, and I thought he's taking the same sort of stuff as I am right now. He seemed, I don't know, was he supposed to be totally Zen guy or something like that? I thought there were some okay moves here. I couldn't figure out. I couldn't get why I was supposed to care that much about this. And we've seen, I think when X Division is done well, you do care. And there's been some really good matches and scenarios through what we've watched. But it does fall into the trap of, sort of copy and paste new guy into here. And it's going to be Brian Kendrick here. And even, Aries as the champion, it felt a bit like, oh, okay, he's the X Division champion right now. That's fine. I didn't care.
No, same. I thought they were. Do you know what I think? Doing this sort of dipping in and out. If you can't immediately work out who the heel and the face are, then something's probably going wrong. Kendrick had zero interaction going on with the crowd at all. Aries always does. He's always got that sort of cocky, arrogant thing about him. But I think the crowd were cheering for him at some points. I think they were trying to do like a plucky underdog type thing with Kendrick, but he wasn't engaging with the crowd, and he's doing this whole like shaman thing that's not particularly like endearing.
Yeah,
it was a bit strange for that point of view. It was like a fine match.
Yeah, I burst out laughing when they said that. So there was this move that Kendrick was going for that seemed to be called sliced bread, and I was sat there for a wee bit, maybe not fully aware of myself, thinking, sliced bread? What is this all about? And then I eventually came to is it like, this is the best thing since? Yeah, it took me a wee while, but that's maybe on me.
You were in a different headspace.
I was, yeah.
In what position were you watching this?
Like physically?
Physically, yes.
I was sitting in an upright chair.
Right, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. Ultimately, Austin Aries hits a brainbuster and retains his title. Taz says that he couldn't think of a better way to kick off the pay-per-view. And Mike TNA says, I couldn't agree! And I thought, yes, me too.
That actually wasn't a bad Mike TNA you did just there. That was pretty good.
Ah, nice, thanks.
I like
Add
that.
it to the repertoire. Okay, so, yes. It's funny, because you look back and you think, starting out these pay-per-views with the X Division multi-man matches are a bit throwaway, but they're, you see some fun things and stuff like that, and then we get a singles match and we complain about that, and it's just a bit like, you just want, like we started off last one with the Motorcycle Machine Guns and the Young Bucks, and it was just exciting.
Yeah.
And I think there's a sort of lack of excitement in that match.
Yeah, that's fair.
Talking of excitement, we go backstage. We've got Karen Jarrett and Tracy Brooks with a bunch of kids in the background, and I think we're supposed to understand that Tracy's sort of like a lackey for Karen Jarrett.
Yeah, it's like she's her assistant, and I got really thrown off here because I didn't feel like they properly introduced me to who any of these people were, and I'm just looking around and there's people like getting angry and shouting. I don't
What's
know
going
who you
on
are.
here? Karen seems to be annoyed at Tracy Brooks being near her kids, and she then goes on to show off her referee's outfit for later on.
There's a phrase that Karen throws out there.
What's that?
She says that she'll be the ref for the match with these 4 prostitutes tonight.
That's questionable. Are we to think that she's sort of like in a sort of Stephanie McMahon running roughshod over the women?
That
of
was
TNA?
how it came across, yeah.
Okay, we've got a Full Metal Mayhem match up next between RVD and Jerry Lynn. Let's play to the crowd in Philadelphia. We got a video package, and it was kind of like Jerry Lynn's always been in RVD's shadow throughout his career, sort of thing.
Yeah, he was sort of bitter, I think, about the fact RVD had all the success and he was just a guy.
I texted you and said it was good of them to put on like a sort of slow motion hardcore match for the state that you're in, but he says you didn't really identify with that. But what did you think of this?
I do have in my notes, like, this is just kind of boring. Like, you've got they're playing up, I think, like you say, they're in Philadelphia. This is a matchup that's been seen in ECW many times. RVD's your big star. I think they're trying to tell the story of the match early on, where they know each other's game so well that it's difficult for either of them to get a lot of offensive moves off on the other one because they kind of know what's coming, and that's fine. I think you can have a little bit of that, and then I mentioned before, when the weapons come out, I get a little bit like, okay. And I think, we've got a ladder, a chair quite early on, and I've seen RVD do some pretty cool stuff with a chair, over the years. He's one of your better chair guys, but I was a bit like, I've kind of, it had a feeling like I've seen this before and I've seen it better.
Mm-hmm. Greatest hits being played.
Yeah.
It felt like they were taken over the top. Yes, it's supposed to be like I think TNA says this will be a chairs, ladders, and tables match. It's like, make sure you don't put them in the right order. Yeah. I felt like they're taking unnecessary risks to win a match, which didn't feel like the stakes were anything like relevant to what they were doing to each other.
There was one moment I found really scary. It's so the ladder's set up between the guardrail and the ring, but it's not like up. It's I think down on the floor at the ring side. And there's like a sunset flip move being done where Lynn is going to pull RVD across with the intention that he lands on the ladder and goes through it. But he kind of misses it. I think he maybe sort of nudges it aside as he's coming down rather than land square on it. And he just goes straight to the floor. And I was incredibly concerned about his head because I kept thinking, well, the guardrail's there. And either hitting the guardrail or hitting the floor with your head because of the angle you're coming down at. It's like, I know he's a very agile guy, RVD, but that didn't look like it would be a good situation for anyone.
Nah, a lot of momentum. I think he hits the guardrail and goes straight onto, I don't know if it's the mat or he actually hits concrete, but either way it looks, that's 2 Bound for Glories in a row. It's going to take really horrible landing on his head. Lots of chair shots here, lots of Lynn getting launched onto ladders and RVD doing Rolling Thunder onto Lynn on the ladder or the ladder on Lynn. Like I said, just felt quite, I don't know.
Did you feel like when they did, you'll have seen ECW matches with these two guys. You feel like it somehow just here it meant less. Yeah. It's not to say they would have always been for a title or something in ECW. I don't know. It just seemed more important than this did.
Yeah, and I suppose you wonder why both these guys at this stage of their career are needing to do this. They probably aren't. They could probably just have a straightforward wrestling match and it'd be just as entertaining. It just felt a bit like playing to the crowd sort of thing. Sound like really grumpy old men, but I mean that's the theme of this pay-per-view for me. So it's not going to change much. To finish this match, Van Dam hits a Van Daminator. Lynn's got the ladder in front of his face, sitting in the corner, and Van Dam goes up with the chair, and he hits him with the chair and the ladder with the Van. Is the Van Daminator that's called, isn't it?
So I've written Van Terminator.
Van Terminator.
Yeah. And do you know? I didn't mind, you've incorporated the ladder, the chair, you've gone down this route of the match. I didn't mind the finish. I thought, it looks impactful, the way they've done it. That's fine. That can be an end sequence. Just the match didn't really do it for me.
No. Do you know what unnecessarily bothers me if people call that coast to coast? I can imagine it really bothering RVD as well. Anyway.
Is that what they called it when Shane O'Mac was doing it? Yeah.
So a win for RVD, but I just think, and obviously this is one pay-per-view at a time, but this is 2 pay-per-views in a row we've seen RVD and just thought like maybe he should be higher up somewhere.
Yeah, he would have thought he would never look out of place in semi-main event or main event at any shows, but yeah. And it's not even like you're getting someone else over by doing this. I mean, it's Jerry Lynn. He kind of is who he is. He's not going to end up being your top guy. Yeah.
How do you think? What would you think about RVD in the X Division matches?
I think it'd be interesting because he's got his own style. Might have been if you saw him maybe doing like an X Division match against one of the sort of premier X Division guys to see what he could do differently in there. That'd be interesting. Yeah.
Oh well, stay tuned for the next Bound for Glory pay-per-view 2012. Match number 3 is a triple threat match between Matt Morgan, one of our favourites, Samoa Joe, one of our favourites,
yeah,
and Crimson.
Had never heard of him until this show.
Is this what JR's referring to with the Crimson Mask? No, it's something else. This guy, his real name was apparently Anthony Mayweather. I'd never heard of him before. I didn't think he was that bad.
He did okay. They were clearly building him because they were talking about the fact that they have this Bound for Glory series where I think your results are tracked and things like that, and somebody ends up getting a title shot, which isn't him here. But they're talking about the fact he got injured and he was on track to maybe win the Bound for Glory series, but he got injured. And I kind of went from who is this guy to well, at least they're trying to make a big deal out of him.
Aye. Yeah. And they tried to make a big deal of Matt Morgan as well, though, to be fair.
Yeah.
Again, Samoa Joe would be a natural face here, and it looked like there was 2 natural heels. They were teaming up against him, but Joe was acting like really heelish.
Yeah.
Did you think that as well?
Yeah, so they've gone heel with Joe, and I think is he credited for the injury or for costing some Crimson, and I don't know if you go down that route, maybe it kind of forces your hand, but it seemed like an awkward fit. Like I think we've talked before, a TNA crowd they're never going to go all in on hating Joe. Joe's their guy, and I don't think you've given them, certainly with Matt Morgan, you haven't given them enough reason to be in with that guy. So yeah, it felt a little bit awkward.
Agreed. I didn't take much notes here. I was quite annoyed by it. By it all. It was a bit rubbish.
I've got some bits and pieces. Like I got annoyed really quickly because the announcers tried to sell it as a surprise that they were going to double team Joe, when in fact the entire preview of the match was that they were going to double team Joe. And then they start doing like the tension between Morgan and Crimson because only one of them can win this match. But it felt really like rushed and thrown together. I do not want Joe in this environment. It's another thing I've got written.
Yeah, I've got pretty much really similar. Like I've wrote, what is winning this match doing for Samoa Joe? Actually, what is being in this match doing for Samoa Joe?
Yeah. It wasn't great, this.
Nah. Finish-wise, Crimson spears Joe after Morgan hits him with a big knee.
Yep.
I don't think I understood how Morgan... Did Crimson just like shove him out the ring? Do you remember?
Well, no. So Morgan's there.
He just falls
I've got this
over
in my
after hitting
notes.
his big knee.
He just does nothing to stop this from ending. And I couldn't I couldn't tell if he was meant to, because he does his big knee and then he continues kind of going into the corner. And I couldn't work out if he was supposed to be like caught in the ropes or something like that, but he wasn't. He was just kind of standing there. So yeah, he just sort of stood by and let Crimson get the win on Joe.
Jeez, there you go. Big win for Crimson. Jimmy Borash is backstage with Bully Ray. Is this your first introduction to Bully Ray character?
So I was aware that there was a Bully Ray character, but I've not really seen him in action.
Right. He's dialed the New York accent up to like 5,000.
Oh yeah.
He says that he has been raping the Philadelphia fan base for years.
It does, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, like it's funny because I was watching my wife was in the room and she was just like, did he just say that? But he needs to do something to get booed in Philadelphia.
He's desperately trying. He's really trying to be a heel in Philadelphia.
Screw Philadelphia, he says. But the New York accent's horrendous. I remember hearing an interview with him years later, and he pitched Vince on bringing Bully Ray character to WWE, and Vince had told him that they would never put a character named Bully on WWE TV. I think he was being kind to him by telling him.
Yeah, just didn't want to do this.
No.
Yeah.
So this is a Philadelphia Falls Count Anywhere match.
Yeah.
Mr. Anderson versus Bully Ray. Thoughts?
I really didn't enjoy this at all. Like, the first thing I found entertaining was a fan throwing some beer on them.
Oh, how funny was that? It's just kind of like, she's almost like does it and then it's like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done
that. Like, there's some moves and stuff I just couldn't... I've got, why is any of this happening in my notes? Like, I couldn't... What was this to achieve? Like, I feel like if it was to try and make either Bully Ray or Mr. Anderson a star, in my eyes, it had the opposite effect. Because I watched it and I thought, well, I would happily never see either of these guys in a match again. There's just... It also, and I've not checked the time or anything, but this felt like it went on forever.
Let me check. 14 minutes.
This was tough to get through.
Oh, it definitely was. I think this was what ultimately led me to switch it off for a night and revisit it. One of my notes here says, please, for the love of God, just put us out of our misery. They end up with a guardrail in the ring and they're slamming each other on the guardrail and all that. And there's no give to it because I assume they've just pulled it from the side.
I noticed when he was trying to bring it into the ring, there were the normal guardrails, and then there was, I think, the exact same type of guardrail, but it was just sitting on its own, so it was obviously the one he was supposed to take, but he tried to take one of the ones that I think was attached to all the other ones at first, and he couldn't lift it. It's like, oh, that one. And then he had a bit of trouble getting it in the ring as well, because of how up it was when laying flat, but yeah, this was just dreadful.
It really was. And again, I think the second time we've seen Anderson. He was in that triple threat match and he's just fallen downwards, isn't he?
Yeah.
How does this one finish? Bully gets smashed with a bin, lies down on the table. Oh yeah, I did. So there was a Bully set up a table really early on, just off the corner of the ring. You just know he's going through it at some point, don't you?
Yeah.
Anderson tries to hit a senton from the top rope, kind of misses him.
Yep.
The fans are booing. You can see Bully whispering in his ears, he's like, hit your finish through it, so at least they go through the table.
Yeah, I didn't know why he was trying to do a senton. He doesn't look like a guy that would be doing them. Just, splash him through the table and you'll probably not miss,
Aye. That's a weird one. I think that's the second time in the match he'd attempted a senton.
Yeah, I think you're right, yeah.
So Mr. Anderson gets the win, but absolute shite waste of time is what I've got in my notes.
Yep, agreed.
Okay, what do you think of the stuff backstage with Bischoff?
Right, so they're starting it, and it's like Bischoff giving a pep talk to a ref, and he's
behind a window though, like you should.
Yeah, it's like you're kind of spying or something.
Yeah.
He's giving the pep talk, and then he's talking about how important it is, obviously, that Hogan wins, but he wants Sting taken out permanently. And then somewhere in speaking about this, he calls him son, I think. And I didn't realise at the time that this was supposed to be some sort of big revelation. So I was like, all right, okay, it's the deck stacked, and Bischoff's got his kid reffing this match. But then we go back to Taz and TNA, and they are in absolute shock about this.
Did you? Well, I don't know. Like, I didn't hear him saying son. And I wish I'd went back to actually... But I think if he did say son, it felt like he was just speaking to a young kid, like, well, son, you can do this sort of thing. I didn't take from it that he was speaking to his son, and then they were like, oh my God!
I found it a bit weird that when you're doing this, you're doing the reveal before the match, rather than like have the ref just go in and be totally biased, and you're like, and then the story unravels that in fact that's Bischoff's son. But the whole story when we get to there's an absolute shit show anyway. So
yeah, it's a bit like a ball of wool, isn't it? The point of it gets lost somewhere in the middle. This was supposed to be, like you say, like eavesdropping, but the sound quality was absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
what he's doing here. Okay, Knockouts Championship match is next. It's you're never going to believe it. It's a Knockouts Championship match, and it's a 4-way. Unbelievable. We've got the champion Winter defending against Mickie James, Madison Rayne, and Velvet Sky, with special guest ref Karen Jarrett. Lots of Impact Wrestling. I don't know, it's not relevant to this match, but lots of Impact Wrestling references and like posters and signs and stuff like that, but we're still called TNA at this point, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because the show was always called Impact, like the TV show was always called Impact. And then at some point they just decided to change the name completely. I think they've gone back, or they are reverting back. Yeah.
This was sickening. It really was. Mickie James, a brilliant wrestler.
Yep.
Really, really good. She carries this match. Her and Velvet Sky, I would have been quite happy to watch a 1v1.
Yeah, and they had, so in the story, so Karen wanted Winter to retain or Madison Rayne to win. She did not want Velvet Sky or Mickie James winning the title. Yeah. And it's, but I think there's a moment early on, before I really grasped what was going on, where somebody has a cover and she just kind of doesn't do anything. But I'm sitting watching thinking, is she just a terrible ref? Because, I've never seen this woman referee before, but the story then gets fully thrown in your face and the announcers are explaining every little bit of it. I feel like I felt bad for Mickie James. Like, when I watch stuff like this, because like you say, she is a good wrestler, she's a good worker, she's charismatic, she's got a lot about her, and it just feels like they're saying, this is it, this is as best as we can spotlight you.
It's not good at all, and it's all story, but the story's not engaging. Eventually Winter spits something in Karen Jarrett's face inadvertently.
Yeah.
What does she spit in her face?
I don't know.
Commentary team try to tell you, but which lays out the referee. Tracy Brooks, the assistant to Karen Jarrett, comes out. She has zero authority here. What is she doing? Counting 3.
You would have thought, I know she's her assistant, but surely, a referee comes down if the guest referee is incapacitated in some way.
Yeah, where's Brian Hebner in his fancy blue shoes? Or even Errol Hebner in his little gimpy 3 count? None of them. Tracy Brooks comes out, counts the 3 for Velvet Sky, who hit like a sort of pedigree, facebuster, X Factor type manoeuvre. And that was enough. New champion. Why would they not put the belt on Mickie James? I'm disgusted.
Yeah. I assume maybe there's a feeling that she doesn't need it. Maybe they're trying to elevate Velvet Sky. Maybe.
Well, I'm quite tempted to watch the next pay-per-view just to see where this angle goes. Not really. The next thing that happens on this pay-per-view I found to be quite stunning. We are backstage with Jeremy Borash with Kazarian. And in the space of 12 months, he's went from a shaved head to the luscious locks of Scott Stapp and Creed. He looks incredible. Can't quite believe my eyes.
A bit up.
All right. Yes, in 12 months, Kazarian has went from a shaved head to like luscious locks. Incredible.
Yes. Incredible. Yeah. Was that the only thing that took you aback about this?
That was it.
That was it.
Why are they interviewing somebody that's friends with AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels? Is it because neither can cut a decent promo?
Maybe. Like I think we've long associated, and I think the association goes on a long time, Daniels and Kazarian. And I think they're trying to sell how have two friends got to this, but you would have thought they could get somebody who, I don't know, a wee bit more about them.
a bit, yeah, I know. Between like Styles cut decent promo. Daniels could as well. Kazarian not really known for the promos.
I don't know if this was just me, but see, after this, it went into a video package for the match, and there was no sound as I was watching it. And I was like thinking, if this is supposed to be telling me some of the backstory here, I'm going to struggle because there was just no audio at all on that.
You're like, this Kokodamo's getting a little crazy. No audio. That's weird. Don't know if it's something to do with YouTube or what, but
maybe. Yeah.
I wondered if it had maybe been a song that they played that had been copyrighted or something. Don't know. That's what I've got my notes. I'd love to tell you the story behind this match, but there's zero audio to tell us what's going on. So, we go to an I Quit match between Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles. Don't know if we must have had an I Quit match throughout our time. I don't recall ever having one. Do you?
The match that always springs to my mind is the Rock and Mankind one, but I don't know if we've ever actually covered that.
Royal Rumble 99?
Yeah.
98? 99?
I can't remember which one it would have been.
99.
I did think you might actually enjoy this because I thought, here's Errol Hebner, and he's not going to be doing his 3 count.
Yes, I wrote it down. Doesn't have to do that gimpy thing. Just has to hold a mic.
Although he's really, like, right from the off, he is shoving it right in their faces.
Yes.
Quite aggressively.
On your cell, Errol. What do you think of it? Generally, because that's what I'm saying, we've never covered one. I don't particularly like an I Quit match. I feel like that and a last man standing match quite similar in a bit. Yeah.
The thing that takes me out of it a bit is you can't have like a sudden finish, if you like. They're definitely not my favourite kind of match. I think, we've seen like submission only matches, and I think sometimes they can work, sometimes they don't work. But yeah, when somebody actually has to say the words "I quit," I don't know, it takes me out of it a bit.
You just kind of know that we're going to have to end with some form of shenanigans. I think that's the problem. And my issue with this match was they'd been gone a minute and they were starting with say it.
Yeah.
Well, God almighty, this is going to take a while.
I could see, I think AJ looked like an abdominal stretching on Daniels or something like that, and he's shouting it, and Earl's got the microphone right in his face, and I'm like, it's an abdominal stretch, man. It's never ended a match, probably not since the 50s.
Amazing. Daniels ends up pulling out a screwdriver. He tries to use it on AJ. He's dangerously close to his eye. I wasn't particularly keen on that.
Yeah.
It ends yanked and rammed into a turnbuckle. There's a lot going on here, but these two it's the same as what we said earlier. Like, these two could just put on a good match.
Yeah, I did. The commentators did have me googling something quite quickly though.
What's that?
These guys named their kids after each other. They said, "Oh, they did."
Did they?
Yeah.
Well, you could have just looked at AJ's tattoo on the side. Doesn't he have his kids' names on his?
Oh, does he?
Nice stuff.
I've only ever noticed the massive A and J.
Just in case you forget.
Is
one of his kids called Christopher?
Middle name, yeah.
John Christopher Styles.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Would you think that a rope break would count in an I Quit match?
Nah, I wouldn't. I had issues with that.
Why would it count?
Yeah.
You can hit somebody with a screwdriver, but a rope break counts.
Like, the referee is purely there to hear the words "I quit." There should be no rope breaks. I was questioning that as well.
Absolute nonsense. So Daniels hits his best suplex ever on AJ on his back because he ends up injuring his back. Then he sticks a Boston Crab on, but AJ gets the rope, and it's like rope break. Nah.
Yeah.
Silly. I did like that Daniels started working on the back.
Mm-hmm. Yep, made sense.
If you're going to get somebody to quit a match, then singling out something. Yep, that makes sense. Did you think that Daniels sort of became unhinged through this match?
Yeah, so there's a moment where he's been like choking AJ with the chair as he sits in it, and he's got the microphone because the microphone's there for the I Quit being said, and he starts like there's a point where he says something about AJ's wife should take the kids out of the room as they don't want to see their father murdered in cold blood, and then he laughs in this really weird way. I found the laugh far more troubling than what he'd actually said.
He starts going AJ in the mic, and then he starts going Wendy about his wife. I never knew. I've seen Samoa Joe do that before. Have you seen? He starts talking to the camera and shouting Wendy.
Not that I remember, but
he says he's been dreaming of this moment for months to see AJ Styles take his last breaths. He seems to be like you're putting on camera that you planned premeditated murder.
Yeah.
But a rope break.
So I mean, obviously, a rope break has to stop you from murdering somebody.
Thankfully, AJ manages to fight his way back. He hits his springboard reverse DDT thing from the middle turnbuckles. Always a good thing to see. They do a lot of back and forward until eventually AJ gets the Styles Clash and hits it. He goes to pick up a chair, and then he's like, "Ooh, there's a screwdriver. I could kill this guy." And Daniels just grabs the mic and says, "I quit.
Don't hurt me. I quit.
Don't hurt me, man." And then he flies out of the ring and runs away up the ramp, and that's the end of the match.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I didn't see the end. I didn't see the match ending that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think to go down the sort of cowardly route for Daniels, having had all his big talk, that was a way to go. I was just a bit like, meh. Okay.
And then he cowardly attacks AJ as he makes his way up the ramp and hits his angel's wings on the stage. So there's more to come in the chapter or in the book of Styles and Daniels.
Yeah.
Shouldn't an I Quit match be a blow-off, though?
You would have thought so, yeah, but I suppose maybe... I mean, these guys will have had a lot of matches together over the years.
Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
Are you interested? I'd like to sell you something here. It's a rivalry between Jeff Jarrett and Jeff Hardy. After Jeff Hardy makes an absolute arsehole of himself live on TV. Thoughts?
Yeah, like. So we've discussed my thoughts on Jeff Jarrett before, which is a lot of the time I just kind of want him to go away. We saw him do that really good thing where he came back and had the match with Angle. Really good story, really good match, and I've zero doubt he is a very talented worker. I'm just not that interested in seeing him. But he comes out and he's the founder of TNA, but a heel here, I think. Well, basically a heel.
Yeah.
And when I heard him calling out Jeff Hardy, I was like frantically trying to think to myself, when was it that Jeff had that thing in that title match with Sting? When did that all happen? But I thought, has Jarrett got a bit of a legitimate gripe here to be having had? And then, Jeff Hardy's Jeff Hardy. He's, he can be very entertaining in the ring, but I didn't get a lot here that I was really caring about, and ended up looking at the T-shirts the guys were wearing in the crowd. There were 4 guys lined up next to each other, and it was really annoying because you couldn't make out what one of the T-shirts had. They were all all white T-shirts with black writing.
Right.
One of them said Hardy. One of them said Gets. And the other one said hi. However, there was a fourth one.
Did the second one say guess?
Gets.
Gets. Oh, gets
Yeah.
that. Right. What do you think the last one said?
I think it was between the gets and the hi, so I'm not sure what it would have been. Very?
So this must be post Victory Road, obviously.
Yeah.
Jeff Jarrett Jeff Jarrett works as a chicken shit heel and a genuine fighting from the bottom. My wife died of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a really difficult time type of personality. That's where he's worked.
Yeah.
Not as an aggressive heel calling out Jeff Hardy.
Nah.
You just don't believe him.
The other issue I kind of had with it, it's maybe like if you watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off as an adult and you're like, get to school.
Brilliant.
I'm watching thinking...
Are you saying that to Cameron or Ferris?
Maybe more to Ferris. I think Cameron had some legit issues on the go. But yeah, I'm looking thinking, I think Jeff Jarrett is right to be pissed off with Jeff Hardy.
Yep.
I mean, he basically ruined a main event of a show, and Jeff Jarrett's the founder of this company. I was like, yeah.
And then he's walked out there like a sort of moping goth teenager with his hood up and all that, and then be like, I've got one thing to say to you, and then just starts punching him, and it's like, that's just petulance. Get him fired. Then they try and do like the whole pull apart with 500 security guards like they did with Angle and Joe, and we're no fucking interested, right?
No, and it those work so rarely. Like, we were so impressed with the Angle and Joe one because it worked. It looked amazing. They both looked like they wanted to tear each other to shreds. I think you need it to be guys like that for that to come off as believable. And I'm looking at this thinking, there's nothing here. But I did get to see D'Lo Brown. I was happy with that.
Yep, me too. It was at that point that we knew we were looking at the real deal now. Gonna kick his sorry ass out in the street. That's right, you do a wee laugh after it. Okay. We've got a video package next for Sting and Hulk, telling a little bit of the story. Hogan appears to have screwed Dixie out of her shares of TNA. Not the only guy backstage I hear that Dixie's been screwing with, if you know what I'm saying.
Wow.
Joker Sting looks like he's doing a lot of heavy lifting throughout this whole thing. Like you said earlier, it's not clear where Bischoff sort of fits in here. He's just sort of following Hogan about a little bit. Yeah. I didn't look like a good angle, did it?
I couldn't. I feel, when you go down the route of having like your authority figures on TV, and we've seen it be, a McMahon at various points in time over the years, Triple H, or even like the guys that come out, like Teddy Long used to be the general manager, of one of the shows, and you always sort of, you're told the story. This is the guy that's in charge, and I think everyone knows Dixie Carter is legitimately part of the backing and funding for behind TNA, but like this felt stupid. Like I'll kind of always remember. I think it was like maybe between like it was post Invasion in WWE where there's this thing where Ric Flair's bought all these shares from Linda and Shane and Stephanie, and he's now co-owner with Vince and stuff like that. And you're like, yeah, very good. I felt probably even worse with this. Like, I get that, Dixie, you're giving Hogan a lot of money, but I do not believe you're giving him the company, and I don't think you ever have. And for it to be so quite early on in this, you've got Hogan. Hogan comes out, Sting comes out. Sting wearing a Hulkamania t-shirt, I think.
Yes, but Hogan comes out first.
Yes, he does. Yeah,
that's the first time ever.
Can't have happened very often.
Can't believe my eyes. Oh,
he brings out Ric Flair.
Hogan does.
Yeah.
Is that what we're supposed to believe, or was it? Aye, we're supposed to believe that Hogan brought Flair out.
Yeah, Hogan starts like gesturing towards the ramp, and Flair comes out to second him in this situation. Now, Flair, long storied history against Sting, okay, but I find him really quite annoying when I see him in these situations.
You stole my thunder from a joke. I was going to say, poor Sting, you must have the worst case of herpes of all time. No matter where he goes in his wrestling career, Ric Flair's back up.
Even until quite recently, was it?
Yeah.
I think I get why other organisations go down the route of, authority figures and stuff like that, because for a while, if you go back to Vince and Austin, nothing has really worked better than that did in wrestling. But that doesn't mean you can just do it with other players and have it work. I mean, even in WWE, they never recreated that. They've tried themselves so many times. I don't mind the idea of, say Dixie Carter in her role had her favourites or something like that. That's fine. I imagine pretty much every promoter or owner does. But for this to be believable in that it's for the company or something like that,
they actually had a good general manager type in Cornette. Like he wasn't like overly heelish. He wasn't overly babyface. He was just sort of like playing it down the middle.
Almost like he was a real life matchmaker guy that was sitting in the back figuring out what would work.
Yeah. Didn't need to be anyway. Apparently, Dixie Carter's just desperate to be on TV, and this sort of. In fact, she found her way of managing to get on TV. She was doing nothing during this match. She was giving it full Elizabeth at like WrestleMania 5, wasn't she?
Yeah.
God almighty.
I take it, I don't know if this is anything you've looked at, but I take it Hogan can't do much here physically.
Nah. He's talking about having had fusion surgery on his back.
Yeah. Like, I mean, we've all had a laugh and a joke about how limited Hogan was in the ring, for a lot of his run, but he looks like he can barely move here.
Even coming out to the ring, he looks like he can barely get down there. I was actually trying to work out how he would possibly end up on the mat. Like how, because I didn't expect him to take an actual bump.
Yeah.
Sting hits a Stinger Splash and he sort of goes down in about 100 different installments.
Sting was incredibly careful when he was putting on the Scorpion as well. Like, obvious, fair play. You look out for the guy, but yeah, he was incredibly careful.
TNA was like, he's got the first phase done of it.
There have never been multiple phases before, but tune in next week.
Flair gives Hogan some sort of weapon. It's not really clear what it is, but it's kind of like a brass knucks type device, and we get blood for Sting, we get blood for Hogan. Hogan's biting and everything. But I mean, it must be a relatively short match.
The actual, I think, bell to bell. So when Hogan,
9 minutes.
Hogan's desperately trying in the Scorpion to give up, with the ref obviously a Bischoff plant or Bischoff's son, not wanting to call the bell, but Hogan, I think, is doing an okay job of pleading with him to end the match because he's in real pain. But what happens after, I just don't understand. So you own the ref that's in this match, right? But you have this whole group of guys backstage, but they're waiting until Hogan has lost before they come out to try and do anything about what's going on. I'm pretty sure Bischoff's son wasn't going to disqualify them if they were getting involved during the match.
Well, considering Flair was low blowing Sting in full view.
Yeah, just have them all out there and just make it absolutely impossible for Sting.
So Bully Ray, Bischoff, Bully Ray, Gunner.
Yeah, someone called Gunner.
Scott Steiner come down with chairs, they attack Sting. They show Abyss hiding behind a curtain.
Yeah.
Scared. He seemed to be friendly with Hulk Hogan during the...
I was thinking, is he, is he there to run out and try and make Hogan see sense or something like that? But,
like a Eugene type character.
Yeah.
Bischoff's son sort of tries to intervene.
I think he tries to stop them swinging a chair.
Oh, that's right. Bischoff's swinging the chair and he takes it off him. So he gets the chair on the back from his father. Mike today is just... He is a plum.
Yep.
Sting is at this point that Hogan's just sort of coming to. He's covered with the Crimson Mask, not the Anthony Mayweather guy. And Sting starts asking Hogan for help. Hogan's a bit like a Labrador, I thought, at this point, where he's just sort of like looking at the crowd rather than like able to make a decision for himself. He's just like, I'll do what they want me to do.
This, like, in terms of, we've all seen matches where it's like somebody sees the light. The one I sort of quite often would go back to was the Savage career match against Warrior, where he's lost the match and Sherry's giving him a kick in the ring and all that, and Elizabeth runs down. It's like he has his moment of seeing the light and realizing he's been doing things wrong for a wee while. But what the hell was Hogan's see the light moment supposed to be? Is Sting asking him for help?
So let's put this together, right? They're fighting each other for control of the company. They've got this sort of death rivalry of like, I want to kill you. They're fighting each other. Sting beats them. They all beat up. All of the guys in Hogan's faction beat him up. So Hogan turns on them. I can't. I'm trying to think, because there's not many things in wrestling never been done before. So like I'm just trying to think of like the Corporation versus DX, right? Triple H versus The Rock, and Triple H beats The Rock, even though Shane McMahon's refereeing, right? All the Corporation come down and beat up DX and Triple H. Then The Rock's like, hey, that's wrong. Morally, that is not good. I'm going to help Triple H beat up all the Corporation? When would that ever happen?
Nah.
They're nonsense.
Like, it is hard to imagine. I don't know who was booking here.
I don't know either.
It is hard to imagine how they came up with this.
It's just Hogan. It's just, he just wants to be cheered. It's as simple as it gets.
Yeah. Like, so I was even thinking at a point in time, if there had been something like even more cowardly about Hogan, where he suddenly decides to align with the winner in the hope of it, keeping him a job or something like that, but it wasn't played that way at all.
No, he was the hero.
Yeah.
Despite Sting overcoming about 8 guys and all the odds and a guest ref, Hogan was the hero.
Yeah.
I've got my notes here, a Hogan chant in 2011, fucking grow up. because they're doing like the ears and they're totally going, Hogan. Not good. Awful. That must be his last ever foray into a match, surely.
I'd hope so.
Until he saw the payday that Ric Flair got last year or 2 years ago.
Ric Flair says he had a heart attack in that match.
I saw that. May explain some of his wild behaviour recently.
Like he talk about having passed out. He passed out 3 times or something like that, and the doctor told him, that's what would happen if you were having a sort of minor heart attack.
Who could have foreseen that happening?
Yeah, probably a bad idea.
Conrad might have been able to see it, but couldn't see it for all the buckets of money that was sitting in front of him. Okay, we got a video package for our champion, Kurt Angle, taking on Rick Rude, I was going to say. Bobby Roode. Roode has won a tournament to get his shot. The Bound for Glory series.
I had when this started, and I thought, and then I had a bit of a flashback to an episode of the Kurt Angle podcast, and I remembered, like, before the match had actually unfolded, I remembered exactly how this was all going to go down.
Really?
Because, like, you notice in the package beforehand, they've even got like talking heads talking like it's Bobby Roode's time. He's earned it. He deserves this. Yeah. This is your moment. Apparently, in the build-up all the way, that's what was going to happen. He was going to get the title. Angle was happy to put him over, wanted to put on a show, get the belt on him, felt like his momentum was there, really high and all that. And then someone in the creative department was like, last minute, I think we better maybe keep it on Kurt for now.
Wow, that's so interesting. It felt like he was going to win it. Mm-hmm. It felt like a crowning moment.
I think they do it like a couple of months later or something like that. But I don't think it's from Angle. And I think, if you're Bobby Roode, winning the title off Angle's a huge deal.
100%.
Yeah.
I thought Angle looked thin again.
Mm-hmm. He did.
His neck, normally his neck is massive, his shoulders are massive. He just looked like a normal guy here. I assumed that Sting and Hogan must have went long because it felt like they sort of speed run this match.
Yeah.
They seem to be, the bells sounded and then almost within a couple of minutes they're like starting, you get triple Germans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like they've started in the back end of what would normally be. I think these two have really good chemistry together.
Yeah.
I really like Bobby Roode. I
don't think, I think for this to be the best thing on the card was quite an easy achievement as a match because the bar was really low. But I did come away from it thinking I would happily watch them have another match. Bobby Roode's got something. He's good in the ring. I had a little concern early on because I thought they were going a little bit too Angle and Joe-ish with the match. There was quite a lot of, was it the crossface that seemed to be the big threat move from Roode?
Yeah.
And, as the match goes, there's a few attempts to lock that in and they're countered by Angle and vice versa. The ankle lock's countered and he goes for the crossface. But I think that the fear of that went away quite early because it was a different style of match. It was a different kind of match. Because I didn't want them to just try and recreate that because it would just be worse. It wouldn't be as good as if it had been Joe. But he's got a good moveset, Bobby Roode. He's athletic. He's got a charisma about him. He's got something.
Definitely. I think I said that he reminds me of Mr. Perfect. I still see that a little bit. I don't know if it's just lazy on my part with the crossface, but I was kind of thinking, I wonder if they've watched a Benoit Angle match before this and looked to recreate some things. Certainly the crossface into the ankle lock, into the crossface and back and back and back. I think the crowd started to get a bit fed up with that. I thought I heard boos.
I did. I also wondered, like, maybe just bad show fatigue. The crowd have been there a long time and they have really not seen much to keep them engaged and interested. But yeah, I think as well the fact that, those brilliant Benoit Angle matches, and then the Joe Angle matches are a few years ago now, so it's not like they've just immediately gone into this. So it didn't bother me in that way. That it maybe was bothering the crowd a wee bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I found it entertaining. Like, knowing what I knew before watching, I do look and think, why did they change their mind and not just go with Roode? Like, it never hurts Angle losing a title match, but it could massively elevate the other guy.
Definitely. I thought when Roode came out with his beer money music, I wonder if it's just like a presentation thing. I assume he'll get his own gimmick if he's main eventing.
Yeah.
A bit like Jeff Hardy coming out to Hardy Boys music sort of thing. But that was the only thing that I could have thought of that they wouldn't have went with them. This was supposed to sort of establish him and then go on.
Yeah.
And it's a dodgy finish, bit of shenanigans type finish. Angle already had kicked him in the nuts, as he likes to do. I didn't get the impression that Angle was like over the top heel. I thought I sort of got in between sort of.
Yeah, and I don't know if that helped the crowd either, because I think when you're telling this story as they were with Bobby Roode, I think if you're overcoming a heel that the crowd really want to lose the title, I think that can help. It is tough with Angle because even when he is a heel, he's respected, which is difficult. But yeah, I had wondered if he'd wrestled a bit more heelish in the match, if maybe the ending might have been more of a blow to people, because they were clearly, that was the plan they'd got to, because they were close up on Bobby Roode's face and stuff like that at the end. But the crowd just kind of fell a bit flat when it happened.
They did tell. I think at some point I was like, oh my god, they're doing too many 2.5s, 2.9. But they were telling the story that Kurt basically needed to do anything to be able to win, and grabbing the ropes and getting help for the referee, inadvertent or not, was what he needed to be able to beat him. So that's probably as good a job as possibly could have done building up Bobby Roode without him winning the title.
Yeah.
So a good way to finish, probably, but the only good match on the card. Is that unfair?
I mean, I can't really say positives about anything else that was on there. I was quite enthusiastic for RVD against Jerry Lynn. It just didn't really grab me.
Sounded good on paper.
Yeah, and
I'll tell you the Observer scores. 3.5 stars, Austin Aries, Brian Kendrick. 3.25 stars, RVD, Jerry Lynn. 2.25, Crimson, Morgan, Joe. 1.75, Styles, Daniels. 3 stars for Sting and Hogan.
No.
And Angle, Roode, 3 stars. So those matches were equivalent, aren't they?
Okay.
And Belka017 on Cage Match says, 10 out of 10, good show. I'll never say that it was one of the best shows, but I was satisfied. Almost all the matches brought me pleasant emotions.
Oh.
I'm glad somebody enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Pleasant emotions.
Maybe I'll get some pleasant emotions in 2012.
Well, will I talk you through that card and then we'll talk about Kill List?
Yeah, go for it.
Right, let's look. Our final one. 2012 TNA Bound for Glory in Phoenix, Arizona. The attendance has just went all the way down now. Here we are here. Tonight Taz. Okay, open the match. TNA X Division title match. Zema Ion, the champion, versus Rob Van Dam. Zema Ion, also known as Joaquin Wild, Michael Monte Carlo.
He's the guy that broke someone's neck.
Is he?
Doing a move, yeah. I'm absolutely certain he broke another wrestler's neck.
Is he? It seems like he might be in the LWO. He might be in WWE just now.
Okay.
There you go. Whose neck did he break?
A guy that it wasn't very well known, but I think it happened in TNA.
Oh.
It wasn't RVD. We're not going to see
Okay.
that. Yeah.
TNA television title match. When was the last time we saw a television title? A while ago, Samoa Joe, the champion, versus Magnus.
Okay.
Brutus Magnus. A street fight with special enforcer King Mo.
Who's King Mo?
He was a MMA.
Oh, I was thinking it'd be like some sort of combination of Men on a Mission.
Mabel.
After,
Amazing.
but that was King Mabel, wasn't it? Maybe
What
Mo
was his-
stole his crown.
I can remember his name. He was in like Strike Force. Anyway, Bobby Roode versus James Storm in a street fight. So we've elevated Roode all the way to the third match on the card.
Okay.
A singles match between Al Snow and Joey Ryan.
Who's Joey Ryan?
Joey Ryan's the Indies guy that used to do like a penis plex.
Oh,
Do you know what I'm talking about?
not really, but I think I've heard enough.
I'm sure he was part of the whole speaking out movement.
Oh, right, okay.
Shocking, given this.
Yeah.
TNA World Tag Team Title 3-way match. Christopher Daniels and Kazarian, champions, taking on AJ Styles and Kurt Angle, and Chavo Guerrero and Hernandez.
Oh,
Wow.
I mean, there's
those people.
There's plenty of talent in there.
Yeah. TNA Women's Knockout Title match. Miss Tessmacher, Brooke Adams? I don't know. Miss Tessmacher, the champion, taking on Tara.
Okay.
No disqualification tag team match. Bully Ray and Sting versus Aces and Eights. DOC, that's Luke Gallows, and Knox. Mike Knox.
I definitely missed the whole Aces and Eights thing when that. Yeah.
And I'll give you 100 guesses, and I guarantee you won't get who's world heavyweight champion. I'll give you 3 guesses.
Who in this is world heavyweight champion?
Yes.
Right,
Challenger in the main event is Jeff Hardy versus a champion.
Oh, so Jeff Hardy is challenger, right? So we've already got Sting, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles elsewhere on the
It's
card.
somebody that was on Bound for Glory 2011.
Oh,
Give you 3 guesses.
right, okay. RVD?
He's already on this card. He's X Division champion. Let's not count that one. I'll give you 3 more.
All right, okay, right. I'm just gonna quickly look at my notes from the card. It's definitely. Matt Morgan. Mr. Anderson.
No.
There's nobody. Everyone else is right. I feel like everyone's accounted for apart from the X Division title match, Aries and Kendrick.
Mm-hmm.
Aries?
Mm-hmm.
How does that happen?
No idea. Unbelievable.
That's really weird.
That's bizarre, eh?
So 12 months on from what we've just watched. And with the likes of Hogan involved?
Oh, I guess Hogan's gone by this time.
Is he gone by then?
There's no sort of trace of him.
He wouldn't be a Hogan pick for world champion.
No, Jeff Hardy was his pick, remember?
Yeah, that's right.
And Beefcake was too busy on the beach.
So Austin Aries as world champion defending against Jeff Hardy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Normally with TNA, you kind of see everything on the undercard as like a sort of like, oh, you never know what that might bring sort of thing, but we're kind of guaranteed a main event that will deliver, but with this one, not so much. Austin Aries versus Jeff Hardy, there we go.
Okay.
Well, if it wasn't going to be our last one, I think it might be anyway. There we go. Should we talk Kill List? That was our movie for this week.
Yeah.
Remind me, had you seen it before? No, you hadn't, eh?
I hadn't. This was my first and likely only ever viewing. And I don't mean that as a negative in terms of the quality of the film, but yeah.
So, synopsis for Kill List. 8 months after a disastrous job in Kiev left him physically and mentally scarred, ex-soldier turned contract killer Jay is pressured into taking a new assignment. And some of our stars of Kill List include Neil Maskell, the main character, Michael Smiley, who also always enjoy seeing in things.
He's in loads of things, yeah.
Yes, I didn't particularly recognise not many other people in it, really.
No.
There was the girl that played Jay's wife. She's called Mayana Buring. Yeah, that's a crazy film.
Like, there's some. This film grabbed me pretty quickly. There's like all the way through it. There's like a tension,
Yes.
and it's there between Jay and his wife early on, and it carries through as the film goes. And I always like a film where you sort of see, like almost like a psychological deterioration or breakdown in a character, and they do that, I think, very well. But then there's definitely a point where it feels like you're watching another film. It goes kind of nuts, and it has your gut punch ending.
Absolutely.
One of the worst gut punches I've ever.
I think you likened it to the ending of The Mist.
Yeah, just like one of those. Like almost like you can see it in front of you, and you know exactly that the film's done it, but you can't quite believe that it's done that, and you're like, oh no.
There's a quote on the poster for this movie, and it says, "We'll leave your bones rattling." And I think that's a perfect way of describing it. There's like horrendous violence.
Yeah.
Like to the most extreme. But for me, that's not the thing that really unsettles you the most. It's the relationship between Jay and his wife, the way that they behave in front of people. It's like the sound, like the shouting, the way that they're shouting at each other while they've got dinner guests over.
Yeah. And you get like his pal taking the kid away and stuff like that, and like speaking to the kid, being like, "It's all right, they've just had too much to drink" and stuff like that, and you're like, "Oh,
it's almost
it's very real life unsettling."
Aye, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's almost too real.
Yeah.
So there's a theory about this film, and I can't remember if I read this or listened to this. I think they were talking about it on the Evolution of Horror podcast. That you can split this film in two. So if you're looking at it like on a line, you can fold it on itself.
Okay.
And there's a certain point within the middle of the film, like I say, you can fold it on itself and it mirrors itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And once you've read about that theory and then you think about it, it does make sense. It does work. The sort of the horrible violence mirrored with the horrible shouting and violence of the dinner party type thing they have and all that.
Interesting. Yeah, like because they're like through the early stages when they're they're basically going through this list of people that they have been told to kill off, and you're sort of pretty sure that these are, at least in the majority, bad people who have this coming without it being explicitly explained to you in a lot of instances. You're like, you don't feel an awful lot of sympathy with the people who are being killed because the picture's kind of there for you. but then even still, I found some of the violence quite like there's a point where he takes the hammer to the skull of the guy, and he does it a couple of times, and you see like, oh,
he rattles off his kneecap.
Oh yeah,
horrid.
Yeah, and you can see Jay getting too into it as well, and that feeling of there's no clawing him back now, and I think that comes after they're told you can't get out of this now. If you try to stop doing this or leave, your family will die.
Well,
and it's a really well told story, but then the end, gee, I'd like.
What? How would you just? What sort of genre of horror is that? Is that like folk horror? The whole like sort of culty religion.
Yeah, certainly the end part of it. Yeah, I would say it's
quite what do you call the film? But they remade it with Nicolas Cage. When I took mind blank. Burning? No.
Oh, Wicker Man.
Wicker Man.
Yeah.
Quite Wicker Man. Certainly towards the end.
Yeah.
The whole sort of culty religion type stuff. But everything that builds up to that is more thriller than horror.
Yeah, I would say that. There's some in it's quite early stages of the cult stuff that kind of unnerved me as well, because when they obviously have their target that they believe they're supposed to go and kill, and they start opening fire as they've been spotted, and the cult members start running towards the guns.
Yeah.
And that totally freaked me out.
It's horrible because you expect them to stop, and it's almost like they're embracing it. Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
Is it just me? This is probably a wrong reading of it. And two things. So one thing I really like about this is not everything's spelled out for you. I always like a film like that because it leaves you sort of. Those are the sort of films that stay with you, and you start to work out little bits and pieces. Enjoy that, but two. They sort of setting Jay up to be like a sort of messiah type.
That's what it seems like, yeah.
Because the priest says thank you, or I'm glad it's you, or something like that.
Yeah.
The other guy that he's hitting with a hammer, once Michael Smiley goes away, he's saying like he doesn't know who you are, does he? Mm-hmm. He's just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
The end. At the end, do you think that she's not in on any of that?
I didn't think so. No.
She's laughing, but I think it's a perverted sort of.
Yeah.
Oh my!
Because you've seen her just before that when I assume they are going to get her. That's them going to get her and the kid. You've seen her trying to fight off and in fact killing off some of the people that are trying to get her. Yeah. I took the ending very much as like her sort of smile or laugh being like this almost like this was inevitable, this something like this was going to happen, because even the dynamic with her though, it's a strange one because she in a way she seems to have been dead against his way of earning money, but in another way she wants the money. She's doing the nagging about the house and, you haven't worked for so long and stuff like that. And that's sort of the early stages of the tension and things like that.
It also seemed like she was almost like a go-between or some sort of involved somehow, even if it's just involved as I'll speak to the wife and she'll convince him.
Yeah.
There's lots of layers to it. She's obviously got some sort of military background as well. She starts taking guys out. She's bawling and shouting at a family member on the phone in a foreign language. This is what I like about this: is you don't get to understand any of this. You just get snippets. Like
yeah, nice.
Did you know that the Hunchback? At what point did you realise what the Hunchback was?
It was right at the end.
God!
Yeah. Did you?
I think I realised I had my head in my hands, and I was just like, no.
Yeah. I don't know why. I think maybe because the scene of her looking like she had successfully killed off some of the people that were trying to break in and get them was so quickly before, or shown so quickly before that knife fight scene. Right. I think I thought it just didn't cross my mind that it would be her and the kid.
So here's a good example of that fold in the film. on itself. Do you remember when he goes to the shop and he buys like nonsense for the shop? She's on about them needing loads of stuff, and he buys like 20 bottles of wine.
Yeah.
And he buys swords, and it shows you them out in the garden, and they're having a sword fight, and the kids on her back. How horrible is that?
Yeah.
That's twisted.
Yeah. Very clever. And, I watched it and thought that was a very good film, but I just will never watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to see it again. You know.
It was when we got to that bit, I was like, I think I might have seen this before, but maybe I've like put it out of my mind because it's that bloody horrible. I'd like to see more of that filmmakers. Is it Ben Wheatley?
Yeah,
I'd like to see more of his films.
Yeah,
and that's my first one. So yeah, there we go. It was like you said. Imagine go see that in pictures. Oh, that's a kick in the nuts.
Yeah,
walking home for that. So next time, will this be our last horror movie? Could be.
I mean, for now.
Yes, because we've got our next journey set up. Will be called The Innkeepers. Don't know much about it.
Yeah, me neither. Never seen it. It's one of those films I've noticed like in listings online before and just never actually watched.
Innkeepers 2012, because everything I was reading was like Cabin in the Woods. But we've probably both seen that multiple times.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So, in 2 weeks' time, Austin Aries versus Jeff Hardy, the big main event we've all been waiting for, and the Innkeepers.
And we finish the story.
Nice.
Of
how contemporary. And I'll keep you up to date on what Joe Hendry's doing.
That'd be good. Did you happen to see any clips from the crowd in the WWE in France event at the weekend?
Both my kids are just like back like wildly into wrestling, so I watched all of Backlash in France. So yeah,
I've only seen clips, but the crowd were insane.
Oh, amazing!
They're just like it was non-stop. It seemed to be non-stop.
Yeah, certainly during Cody versus AJ Styles, they had a song. There's a famous song that's like "He is phenomenal," and they were just singing it non-stop. And Styles was supposed to be playing heel, and he was just kind of looking out at the crowd at some points, being like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, apparently Cody Rhodes has said it's by far the loudest crowd he's ever played in front of, and it was only like 11,000 or something like that. Right. But obviously the noise they were making was incredible.
I don't know if you've seen the entrance for Jey Uso, but it's unbelievable.
No, right? No, I didn't see that.
The whole crowd have got their like how they used to do the Fireflies for Bray Wyatt, like that, but they're all like getting them up there. It looks great. It's brilliant.
Nice.
Yeah. And I watched almost a full episode of AEW Dynamite from last week. Only fast forwarded the Chris Jericho match because that's surely acceptable.
And impressed with the show?
I thought it was alright. I thought it was good actually. I think if you don't prejudge things and then don't read about what anybody says about things, then just watch it and enjoy it, then it's alright.
I did end up, over the course of various days, watching most of WrestleMania. And I thought it actually came across as a pretty good show. Like, I don't know if you've watched it or a lot of it.
A little bits and pieces.
But yeah, I like, having been out of it and not really interested for a while, I quite enjoyed the show. I think the days of me watching wrestling, like weekly TV shows are gone, but I'm not ruling out, watching the live events when they're on and keeping my toe in.
There you go. Yeah. Keep an eye on that. Could be a future journey. What did you like?
I really enjoyed. I did enjoy the main event, like the world title match on night 2. Like, there was obviously a lot of shenanigans. but I liked the story they told with it, where it was guys, well, apart from Undertaker, who seemed pretty random, but guys who had issues with them that were getting involved. I liked, obviously they were going to have Cody get the win this time, but I liked the way it got there without it being. It was nonsense. There was a lot of nonsense going on in the match, but I think it got away with it. To be honest, I think it kind of worked.
It was quite a lot of theatre.
Yeah, I really liked Roman Reigns, chair in hand, and he just can't get past the deception of Seth Rollins, and he had to swing at him. I like that. It's a callback. It's been a long, slow burn story, but the fact that was always there, it's almost like it was his part of his origin story or something like that. That was the moment that he turned heel, basically, in that sort of long-term fashion. But yeah, I like that. I quite like I might surprise myself with this. I quite like the Bayley match. Bayley Io Sky. Is that the name? I thought that again, fairly well told story, having been Bayley's faction, and then she's kind of kicked out of that. I got annoyed with, but I enjoyed some of the interaction between Kevin Owens and Randy Orton in their triple threat with
taking shots, beating up Logan Paul.
Yeah, and like the sort of the acknowledgement that only one of us can win this match, and the sort of are we going to go now? Is it going to be now? I enjoyed Sami Zayn and Gunther.
I never saw that one.
I hope they do right by Gunther now, in terms of where he should be.
They're doing a King of the Ring. I wondered if they might crown him King of the Ring.
But like Sami Zayn's he's your everyman, but he's a very he does bring the emotion. You feel the emotion in a Sami Zayn match. So I liked the way all that was done. Yeah, I thought there were some good moments.
Zero mention of CM Punk. I wondered if you were going to mention him at all.
So he was involved in Drew McIntyre losing
Rollins.
Yeah,
and Damien Priest cashing.
I didn't mind the angle. I did wonder, is he expected to be back quite soon, CM Punk? Because I suppose, you had to bite the bullet with Damien Priest eventually. He's had that a hell of a long time. And you're never going to do it on Cody, who was always going to be crowned this weekend. So I see it as logic, and you will go back to the Drew McIntyre CM Punk story, which they're probably keeping it going anyway, even though he's not in-ring active. But did I hear Drew McIntyre re-signed? He's staying around, I think, for a wee while. So yeah, it gives them somewhere very easy for Punk to go when he is back fit and healthy. But yeah, no,
what do you think of the Rock
quite
wrestling?
Enjoyed the show.
What do you think of the Rock wrestling?
I thought he was okay. I had memories of him years ago now, but he looked blown up against Cena after 2 minutes. Yeah. It was a tag match, which I think gave better opportunity for him to be in and out. I kind of assumed that in the long term they might still do Rock and Roman, because there'll be a who's calling the shots maybe type situation on the go. But yeah, I thought if you're going to use him, I thought that was a good way to use him.
I thought so too. I was surprised. I thought they showed pretty good restraint with him not screwing Roman or anything like that. Yeah, and he looked pretty decent in the ring as well. He's working with two guys. Good to go with anybody probably, but I was quite impressed actually.
Yeah.
I see that they're doing Solo as the leader of the Bloodline now, and
and I think they've kind of got Paul Heyman being like, have all these decisions been cleared type thing, and he's supposed to still have the year of Roman Reigns, which makes me assume there's somebody else, which The Rock would be the logical one that's sort of pulling the strings, and give the opportunity for Roman Reigns to come back and say, I didn't approve any of this shit. What the hell's going on? Type thing.
Do a face run for him.
I think so. Yeah.
There you go. We could be back. We could be back on it.
Steady, baby steps.
So, well, we've got our next journey. We're going to go into documentaries after. For Glory. So we've plenty of time to get angry at modern wrestling again.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Right, let's go. We've got Champions League semi-finals to be watching. What have we got tonight? PSG Dortmund.
PSG Dortmund, yeah.
What are we to?
1-0 to Dortmund from the leg in Germany.
Well, could be a good
Interesting.
one.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
2 weeks. See you then.
Cool.
Take it
Cheers.
easy.